Buenos dias, Wine and Wisdomers, and welcome back to another episode of Wine and Wisdom. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Hey.
Good. Hi.
How's everyone doing?
Groovy.
Great.
We're good.
Ya está llegando el frío.
I'm in denial.
We see.
No, I know.
I love it though. It looks great.
Wrong with that.
Colors though, at least it's fall colors.
Exactly.
And you're in the trend, baby, because it's a lot of animal print for this season. A lot of animal print.
Yeah.
I wonder why, right?
Browns, animal print, denim, and leather, baby. If you don't got that in your wardrobe, you're not ready. So
I know. All the flare jeans are back. All the clunky loafers are back.
The mom jeans. No more tight jeans.
Don't mess around with the mom jeans. Those
mom jeans.
I love.
Loose tops is no more tight nothing for this season. Everything is nice and loose and comfy. I'm loving it.
I'm excited to see how they're gonna mix the generational trends. You know,
well, we're going back in time because everything that's in trend now is what we were wearing like back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Everything.
We're back in high school.
Yeah. The jewelry, the accessories, the clothes, everything is like we went right back. And I was like, I wish I would have saved all that.
I know.
Well, that jewelry is coming back. JD, my daughter was wearing bell bottoms.
Yeah,
jeans.
They're back in. I remember you used to wear bell bottoms.
Yes, I was a fan of those and the chunky.
Yeah.
What is it? The chunky heels.
Yeah. That's coming back too.
Yeah.
The thick heels, the chunky heels.
I used to love the Doc Martens. Remember the Doc Martens?
Yeah.
Oh, those have been back.
That's all coming back. The penny loafers, the penny loafers with the heels.
No,
all that is coming back.
Buy another pair of penny loafers. That shit reminds me of school.
Yeah.
I used to love my penny loafers.
Yeah. I was looking at a pair and I found them to be so cute because they're like chunky and rugged underneath. And I was like, maybe I'll invest in one pair, a black pair that can wear everything.
And another thing you guys need for this season is construction boots. If you don't got some, you gotta get some.
I have no problem with that. I have always loved Timberland.
I don't like construction boots. They're so heavy.
My God. They're so in for the season.
Such a big foot that I look weird.
You just gotta find the right one. Different ones. Maybe Tim's will look good on you. You know?
But they have a different style Tims. Like they have the beef and broccolis. I usually buy them in kids sizes so they could look, make your foot look smaller. But I'm excited to see this whole trend now that everything's coming back from. It's very nostalgic.
Yes.
So,
flashback.
Fashion is breaking barriers, right?
It's gonna be an interesting fall.
It is. So speaking about fashion trends and how they break barriers and things like that, our topic today is how we as Latinas have broken barriers, how we have broken out of the norm or what is expected to be the norm in our culture or in our families. So what are some of the things that you guys have done to stray away from, the normalcy in your families and broken barriers? With being a Latina. Yes, Jess.
So in my house, you weren't allowed to speak.
What do you mean?
Let me see how I can describe. Like, your opinion never mattered.
Oh, you didn't have a voice.
No voice. Your opinion never mattered. Don't talk. You do what you're told. Y ya. And that's something I broke in my home. Like I want my children to have voices, although I think they use it a little bit too much. But, I feel like it's important for them to have grown up knowing that they have a voice and that they can express their feelings and that they can ask questions and get the information they need from home instead of learning it outside like I did.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers to that, girl.
Yeah.
How are you?
Cheers to that.
I'm not drinking today. Sorry.
The card is stuck underneath.
My coupon.
Coupons. We all know I love a good coupon.
Oh God.
I can relate to that. I mean, in my household, it wasn't an option, right? It was what it was, and that was it, right? That's what's for dinner. That's what's for dinner. If this is where we're going, you want to go or not, you're going, right? Which some of the stuff I kind of agree with, because I feel like sometimes kids nowadays have too many options, you know. But like, I was the first to graduate from college in my family, and so I broke that barrier, and I'm forever proud of that. Then my brother, a couple of years later, actually graduated from college too with his degree. And I think another barrier that I made it my point to break was the nagging. The nagging, the constant for everything. Everything was a nag. And I grew up in that world of nagging. Like, I would go to my grandmother's house, like, my mother's house, my grandma's house, and I'm like, ah. And so I made it my point that when I got older and I got into a relationship or I got married, I wouldn't nag, as opposed to communicate. You know, like, if I'm upset that the towel's on the floor, I'm not going to be like, no, I'm like, can you please pick up the towel off the floor? Right? Or just taking a different approach to it, you know?
I nag.
Huh?
It's
exhausting. It's exhausting. It exhausts me to listen to it, and it exhausts me to do it, you know, because it's like a broken typewriter, you know. So I made it my point to not do that, to not nag. That's one of my barriers that I broke.
Well, congratulations for breaking that.
Thank you.
That
Great.
girl.
It is hard. It is hard because, you know, you fall into it subconsciously. You know, you just fall into it because it's the norm for you. It's all you know, right?
It's what you've been used to, right? It's
right.
what you've had around you at all times.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So it was hard, but when I caught myself doing it, I was just like, and then I'd rather ask you or talk to you about it as opposed to make it an hour conversation by myself, right? Because eventually they tune you out and you're just talking to yourself.
Right.
You know, so yeah, that was one of my barriers I broke. Angie?
Well, this is gonna sound very different, because
excuse me,
I broke the barrier of learning how to do things by myself, in the sense of going out to dinner by yourself, not dependent on anyone. Like, I enjoy it. See, like, for instance, and I know family members, females, that they always had to have their companion to do everything. Go out to dinner, to the movies, to go food shopping, to like everything. I'm like, and you know, in us for Latinas, we, you know, when you're married and many years ago, it's like you used to do everything with your husband. Your husband will do everything as well with you. It's like, you know, everything is like in pair. So I've learned how to, you know, not to depend that, you know, on my spouse to do things that I enjoy doing. So because we have like different schedules, so I learned how to do things on my own. And to be honest, I really do enjoy it. And I learned how to appreciate, you know, being alone by yourself, you know, going to a coffee shop and reading a book by yourself. At first, it's kind of awkward, but then you learn how to enjoy it.
I think it's the best part.
It's not easy because, you know, it's not easy for a lot of females or any person in particular, because they're not used to it. Like, for instance, my mom would never, or your mom, I'm sure, will never be able to do that by themselves alone for hours. and I could do that now, and I really like it. I really enjoy it, as crazy as it sounds.
I don't think it sounds crazy at all. I feel
I
it's
think that's
important.
great. It's a lot of people that can do it.
Yeah, a
Mhm.
lot of it's important to enjoy your own company. It really is.
Yes,
So,
I agree. I
yeah.
agree. And I think that's a good thing to learn. It, you know, a lot of people, I think, sometimes suffer more if they're going through a separation from their spouse or in the process of divorce, when they all of a sudden find them by themselves, they find themselves by themselves, and they haven't learned to love their own alone time. You have to learn how to love to be alone, and appreciate your time by yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
That's how you
And-
grow.
oh,
That's-
100%.
And
100%.
not only is that how you grow, but that's how you discover.
Right.
Mhm.
Yourself.
Yeah, you discover like, oh shoot,
Yeah.
I like to do this. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, because sometimes you stop yourself from doing things because your partner doesn't want to do it or he's not
Right.
interested in it. But then you do it on your own and it's like, okay, shoot, I don't need nobody.
You don't.
Yeah.
I love going to
Yeah.
the movies by myself. I'll go to a diner by myself. I've gone clubbing by myself when I was younger.
Listen, I sat at a bar and had a glass of wine by myself.
And you meet the best people because that's you're by yourself, and that's when people come
Right.
have a conversation, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're a millionaire. Well, I'm single. Like, you know, you never know, right?
Kachanga.
You never know. So it's not crazy at all, Angie, at all. Cheers to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 To that.
Salute to that.
Amen. And I think being as an only child also to help you, like, you know, me learning how to, since small, you know, not to have a sister or brother, you know, same age or anyone to play with you at the same age. So it's like you tend to learn, I think it's like a survival skill, to be honest. You start talking by yourself, and you know, with your shadow.
Tell us about your imaginary friends.
I'm like, and I still
I
do.
remember you talking to us about Paquito. I remember.
Oh, you still do. Vivian.
Was that you? Did you say that?
I
I
my
can't.
God.
Yeah.
I can't.
What about you, Brent? Gloria.
So I think I've broken a few that, and I don't want anyone to take this offensive that watches our show, but growing up Latina, right? There's so many things like you ladies have mentioned, right? The fear that's inserted into us, right? Since we're little, like doing things alone, like graduating college, like having a voice. So I think I've broken so many. One, yes, being graduating college first at home. Learning to drive. No one in my family drove. Not my father, not my mother, not my sister, and I was the youngest at home. Not having fear of wanting to go and do things or try things that I wanted to explore. That my parents were like, "Ay no, pero tú no puedes hacer eso, porque tú no sabes esa gente." And I'd be like, "Is that right? I'll figure it out." You know, and I would go. The traveling was a big thing. Like in most Latino cultures, people only travel back to their country. New York and their country, that's all they know. I'm sure like your parents at one point, that's all they did, go to Puerto Rico and come to New York. My parents, that's all they ever did, was go to DR and come to New York, go to DR and come to New York. And I was like, espérate, ¿qué es esto? There's a whole world to explore, vámonos. And I think that's why I enjoy traveling so much. And it put that seed into my kids, and my kids love traveling. You know, like one of my sons has been to Europe. They've been to Mexico. They've been to, you know, Jamaica. They've been to Dominican Republic. They've been to more places than me, honestly, because they've done cruises and they get both of both worlds, right? Because they get to travel with me and then they get to travel with their dad. So they really got it good. But you know, I think just that alone is like such a big thing for us Latinas to explore the world, to learn different cultures, to meet different people. And to me, that's such like important thing. And I mean, I did it the minute I graduated college, that same day I left, I was on a plane. Bye, I'm out. I don't care. I don't know nobody there. I don't care. I'm going by myself. People that I graduated with that I never had traveled with. Let's go. Let's do it. I've never had that fear of wanting to discover a different country or a different state or a different culture or whatever the case may be. And honestly, I think another barrier is that, yes, I'm a Latina, but the one thing I always said to myself, I will not be a statistic. Just because I'm a Latina that has raised 2 young men by herself for 20 years, I refuse to live off the system. I refuse to live in the worst neighborhoods. I refuse to, have to do the wrong thing in order to survive. I've always held my head high. Yes, I've always hustled, but I've always tried to do better and better and better for my kids. And my whole thing is, if I can do it, so can everybody else. So those are the barriers I think I've broken as a Latina, and I'm proud of.
Cheers to that.
girl.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said something that piques my interest, because the minute that you tell someone, like, oh, where you're from, I'm like, oh, I'm from the Bronx. I'm like, oh, you're
Yep,
born
they look down on you. Yeah. Oh, the Bronx?
instantly.
Yeah.
Instantly.
No matter where you go. No matter where you go.
At
Instantly.
least people are respectful and ask me when I say, oh, I'm from the Bronx, they say, what part?
Yeah, right. So,
What part?
when I tell them, like, I've been on a few interviews these past couple of weeks, and then I'm like, so they're like, oh, where you from? And I'm like, oh, born and raised in New York. I said, my parents are Puerto Rican. They're like, oh, what part of New York? And I'm like, the Bronx. They're like, the Bronx? And I'm like, yes, but I've just recently relocated to New Rochelle. And they're like, oh, so you're moving up.
That's how they see
Right?
it.
But
That's
you're
how
in
they
an
see it.
interview and you're like, I'm like, so me being me, and I'm like, no, it's a lateral move. Right? Because I'm 15 minutes away from the Bronx. So it's
Right.
not like,
You're literally right there.
yes, I'm on the cusp.
Not even.
So, right away they're like, okay, she's from New York, she's Puerto Rican, she's from the Bronx, right? So it's crazy
Don't
that,
tell them you went to Catholic school.
right? Exactly.
And
So-
all girls
With
school,
all of
okay?
us.
all girls
You went
school.
to
So
Catholic
With
now
all of
it's
us.
like,
All of us.
Oh, I know about you guys.
Se jodió la vaina.
it's crazy, and it's just literally right away you can see it in their head, like, oh, I feel it, like, oh, she's a statistic.
Right.
So
Right.
it's funny that you say that. It's crazy, because some of the most educated, successful people have come from the Bronx,
Right.
that are Hispanic, and
Absolutely.
it's just like,
Yeah.
I think it doesn't matter how much we strive and how much we succeed in those small-minded minds of people.
Yes.
We will always be looked at as a statistic.
Right. And it's funny you say that, because even for someone like me, right? And someone else pointed it out today to me. And he's like, damn, Gloria, I just realized you're the only Latina person in this whole company.
That's crazy.
And I'm there for 6 years.
Wow.
And they're supposed to hire within diversity, right? They're supposed to have a diverse, equal
There's
opportunity
one more
employer.
lady, but she only comes in once a week, because she's
Mhm.
from Jersey. So she only comes in once a week. But you look at her and you wouldn't even imagine until she opens her mouth. Then you're like, oh shit, you speak Spanish? Where are you from? Because she looks like a white girl. She's Puerto Rican, but she looks like a true white girl. But ella es rubia. So she looks like a true, like you would see her, you would assume she's either Italian or, one of those countries. But you would never think in a million years that she's Puerto Rican.
One of the interviews I did a couple of weeks ago, my last name obviously is in Spanish. I don't look Spanish.
Yeah.
So when she was talking to me, it was for a bilingual position, and she's like, oh, where did you learn? She's like, where did you learn Spanish? And I was like, it's my native language.
Wow.
I'm like, it's my native language. I was like, I'm Puerto Rican. And she's like, oh, I thought you were Italian because your last name is Italian. And I said, no, it's Puerto Rican. It's Latayadi. I was like, it's not an Italian last name. She's like, oh. And then her whole demeanor changed, you know, and it's horrible because, huh?
I can't believe people are still experiencing.
We still live in that, mommy. We still live in that.
Oh yeah,
we still live in that. We're still, you know, it's sad to say, but for some people, we're still spics.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
You
like
know?
my name, right, Angelina? They're
Right.
like, are you like Italian descent? Who's Italian in your family? No one.
Más boricua que nosotros.
I know, Angelina. Like, just an Italian name. No, it's not. I'm like, ¿cómo está? Bene, grazie. Ya hablo italiano. Mangiare.
You know what I mean? Because I would just be like, spaghetti.
Oh my God.
You know, and it's sad. It's sad, you know, that we still live in that world. And I'm so happy to know that our younger generation continues to break these barriers. And I don't mean for us to lose our culture or to lose our ethnicity or to lose our traditions. I think we should continue running with our language, our native tongue, and teaching them, you know, our cultures and our traditions and how to cook our food and how to listen to our music and
to be proud of their roots.
Yes.
You know, it's one of the things that I made sure I did for my kids. I didn't want them to forget or not know where I come from and where their father and his family come from. We're both two big Latino families, right? They're Puerto Rican, we're Dominican. How could I not teach my kids Spanish? How could I not teach my kids the culture? How could I not take my kids to the countries? How could I not, you know, inscribe into them our food, our music, our instruments, our upbringing, you know, and I love it now that they're in their 20s, that they're becoming fucking Latinos. It's so funny because even Ethan that plays I don't really speak Spanish. Ese tipo está más dominicano que la República Dominicana.
Como el mío.
I love it because they're just in a different level now that they're in their 20s, you know? When they were younger, I get it, but they're loving the culture. Like they're into the Spanish music.
They're appreciating it more.
We have to, because if we don't inscribe it into the kids, it dies. It stops. If we don't push it forward on our kids, it stops. And they're missing out on such amazing things. You know, like we mentioned, right? La cremita que la abuela te hacía, la comida de mami, you know, the get-togethers of the familias. If we don't keep that alive with our kids, they're not going to do it. They're not going to know to do it. They're going to get lost in the world that they're in now. So that always was one of my biggest things with my boys. Even when they were little, I got Spanish-speaking babysitters because I wanted them to not lose the Spanish, at least to be able to understand it.
Y mucha de la cultura, tú sabes, y costumbre, like for instance, Three Kings Day, los Días de los Reyes, that I still celebrate.
Yeah, you always keep that alive, and I love that about you.
That's one of my favorites. So, and they love that, you know, and they like talk about it. They were like, why? What is that? And they just explain to their friends, what it's all about. So, and I love it. Kevin, he's very, very proud. Like when he played football, he had his sleeve with the Puerto Rican flag. He might not speak a lot of Spanish, but
I can tell. I can tell in his party, ese nene tiene boricua por todos lados.
So he is very proud, and you know he loves going to the island. He loves the food.
There's nothing like our cultures, ladies. There's nothing like the blood that runs through our veins.
And we're happy people.
Yes,
oh my God. So happy people.
Yeah,
we are. That's one of the things I love about our culture.
We loud as hell. Like we know where everybody is Latinos, right?
Yes. And I haven't done my little video yet, but I'll say it here and I'll just use a clip, I guess. One of the main things that I love about being Latina is our diversity. because yes, we have all the cultures and we have all the races, but as Latinas, we have Colombians, we have Venezuelans, we have Ecuadorians, we have Brazilians, we have so many different Latin cultures, you know, that still make us, that are still Latinas. You know, we have, our pride is so strong. We're so passionate about all of our countries. Whether you're Colombian, when that soccer game comes on, don't mess with a Colombian when that soccer game comes on.
Love it.
You know what I mean? That Puerto Rican Day Parade, we're out there. Pride. People that aren't even Puerto Rican want to be Puerto Rican the day of the Puerto Rican Day Parade. You know,
Yeah.
our pride is so strong, and we love our country. And you know, we're such a unified culture. You know, it doesn't matter what part you come from. I mean, this show right here, we have 3 different ethnicities here. We have Colombian, Dominican, and Puerto Rican, and we all act as one. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Your empanada is my empanada, right? It just,
That's it.
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. So
You know,
I love how diverse we are.
You saying that reminds me of one of our interviews. She created a painting with all the flags of the art by her.
Shanique, Arts by Sir.
Shanique,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
did all that painting, and just recently she just put it all in a bag.
I
which was
love
so
that.
pretty. Yeah,
I love
so
that.
Awesome.
pretty.
I definitely love that about us, and I hope we continue passing all our cultures and our traditions and our native tongue. You know, it's not
Yes.
only our culture, but you're
Right.
doing also a due diligence to your child, because you know you could apply for a job, multiple jobs that, you know, and you get paid more when you speak a second language.
Oh, yes, you
You
do.
do. Yeah.
Oh,
My
yes,
daughter's
you do.
actually using right now. She's in the medical field and she used her Spanish all the time.
There you go.
I told her since the day one that it's gonna come, you know, la va a ayudar mucho. Look at me hablando español.
Yeah, no, es verdad.
And that's
Verdad,
actually
it's-
how my coworker came into the realization today that I'm the only Latina. He's like, wait a minute. You're the only one that speaks Spanish here. You're the only Hispanic person we got. And I was like, yeah.
And they're always pulling you, right?
They lose you, they're in trouble.
Always
He's like,
pulling
they
you.
lose
because
you, they're in trouble. I
That's
said,
me. They're always
I gotta get on the
pulling me.
phone when it's a Spanish customer. I gotta talk to a Spanish customer when they walk in. Yeah. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. And I love the fact that our generation is a little bit of that old school mixed with the new school, and adapting, you know, our current present generation, because I love it when we get all together and we'll make a parranda, right? And you don't see that anymore in Puerto Rico. You don't see
That's
that.
what I'm
and that
saying. You gotta
saddens
keep
me,
those traditions alive.
you know, because Christmas in Puerto Rico during that time was so amazing. It was so
Oh, yes.
lively, and you would be up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, drinking hot chocolate with the damn cheese inside of it. And
Oh
yes, you know, you're like, can't have though, but you're drinking because everybody else is. And you're like, all right,
yeah.
Aloha sopao.
and there used to be 20 cars going to someone's house in the middle of the night, you know.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's faded out in our country, and you know, but we keep it alive when we get together for a barbecue, and I love that. I love that we still keep those traditions alive. So
Yes.
My poor neighbors, they'd be like, oh my God, there they are again.
They should be used to it by now, so many years.
By now they love it.
and now they want to come over,
Como
and I'm
dices,
like, can
"No
we
puedes
come?
con ellos, únete a ellos."
Yeah, exactly.
They're already so
That's
used to it.
right, definitely.
Oh.
But one thing I want to talk about in our Pero Porque Why segment is how we broke our household barriers. You know, the expectation for the Latina wife, the expectation for the Latina mother, what you should always do, you know, be by your husband, you know, XYZ. So we're gonna talk about that in our Pero Porque Why segment. We'll be right. Nobody know how Jessica feels about it. We'll be right back with that Pero Porque Why.
Hey y'all, welcome back on our Pero Porque Why segment. What's going on? How did you guys break the cycles at home, like in the marriage, with the family, with the kids? How hard was that? Was it hard?
Ay,
Okay.
ay, ay.
That sounds heavy. That sounds heavy.
For me, it was a little challenging because I had to try to find like the happy medium. My mother would even iron my father's underwear,
Oh
right?
yeah.
know.
My father was a butcher, and he
No
would come
puedo.
home with like the white coats that they wear, the freezer white coats, drenched in blood from the meats and the cuts and all that. My mother would get on hands and knees in the bathtub and con un cepillo brush them, y esa cota salían blanca, like toothpaste blanca. And my mother was just on it, 100% on it. My house was always impeccable. And my father wasn't appreciative of it. It became an expectation. So when I got married, I can't even put into words because just thinking about it gets me angry. But when I decided to get married, I took a long time to get married because that was my norm, and I didn't want to be that person to a significant other because I already had the mindset that that person wasn't going to appreciate it, right? But then when I got married, I started setting those boundaries in the sense that if I cook, you can wash the dishes. If I do laundry, then maybe you can mop and sweep. If we can both go do groceries, we can both put groceries away. It had to be inclusive. And luckily I married somebody that likes to help out. He likes to do stuff like that. And he does reciprocate and he does appreciate it. So I tried to not follow the same mannerisms as my mother, because my mother did everything and didn't give chance to my father not do anything. Not that my father was going to do it anyway, but I did the opposite. Like, I can't do everything. I work too. My mother was a housewife. So I work too on top of being a housewife. So if I work and I know you work, we got to do it together. So I made it my point to break that barrier because I didn't want to feel appreciated in that aspect. So it was hard.
It's funny you said what you said, but that's exactly what it was, right? Back then, that was the role of the woman, was to stay home and be a housewife. So she was expected to do everything, to go above and beyond, basically serve as a servant to the man. Because his job was to go out and make the money, and her job was to stay home, take care of the kids, feed the family, clean the house, da 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 da. Guess what happened? Shit changed.
Yeah,
we work.
Korean women.
We go out every day, just like they do. We put food on the table, just like they do. So all that changed, and that's how we all come into play in breaking barriers, right? Just like you're saying, my mother was that woman that served. Like you would think we were having a feast when she would serve dinner, because everything had to be separate and nice and this and the other. And granted, yes, when I have an event, when I have people over, absolutely, but that's not my everyday norm. Everyday norm, I'm working a job. I come home, it's make food as quick as I can, put it on the table, let's eat it. You freaking serving everything in a plate. It's not like that. It's funny you said about ironing, like, ¿qué? Yo plancharle a quién? No, fuck that. I did enough of that as a kid at home,
No, it was.
I don't even own an ironing board because I hate ironing.
We were going out. If we were going out, my mother ironed everybody's clothes. Yeah, my father's suit jacket, the tie, the shirt, everything was ironed and laid out.
I used to have to iron my father's work shirts, okay? Because that was the upbringing at home. Everybody had to learn how to iron. Me, my sister, my mother, we all ironed. My father didn't iron, but me, my mother, my sister all had to iron. So that's why I think I hate ironing.
A mí la plancha se me va detrás.
No, nena, forget about it. And, it's just crazy because that's what it was. That's the upbringing, right? That's the mentality from back then, que la mujer tiene que hacer, que la mujer tiene que cuidar la casa, que la mujer tiene que limpiar, que la mujer tiene que this. Where's the Bible? Please show it to me. Show me where it's written in the scriptures that that's what we're supposed to be doing.
I have to share something. I have to share something. Growing up, I grew up like most of my time was in Puerto Rico. So I lived with my uncle, and you know, like you said, he was the man who brought the food and all
Right.
that stuff. So us, we have to literally, when he came home, we had to serve him.
Yeah.
So put
Yeah.
the food on the table,
Mhm.
everything. He just needed to sit there and eat the food.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
thing is, talking about breaking barriers, one thing I cannot break is doing that.
Right.
I still do that for my husband.
This- right.
I
And
still-
again, there's
problem
nothing wrong
doing
with
that.
doing it. There's
I
nothing wrong
know,
with
even though
doing
I
it.
try not to, I just kind of feel guilty.
Right.
Yeah, but you also have a different creature for a husband.
No, no,
Right. And he
Well, true.
appreciates what
Your
you
husband
do.
appreciates, you know, and
and
your
I
husband
that-
cooks and your husband cleans and your husband, you
And
know.
he
But he
works
doesn't
hard.
cook, but like for instance,
But he
I
works
do
hard.
all the cooking, but he does the dishes.
Right.
Right.
So you guys help
So
each other
there
out.
is, you
I
know,
think too, as Latinas, we are catering.
Always.
It's
That's
not-
who we are.
We
It's
are.
in us to cater and serve
Yes,
and
that's
take
who we
care
are.
of it. It's who we are, and we feel passionate about that. We
Yes.
like.
We like.
So,
I like
you
it.
know, Angie, I too serve. Like if I have, I serve my kids still.
Yeah.
Yo
Yeah,
le
me.
boto la carne todavía. Like I'm
Right.
still that person, you know, like
Yeah.
and I think that if I were to have a partner or a husband, like I will serve
You would
them
do it.
well.
Yes.
I would.
Yeah.
It feels
I
good.
still do it. I don't have a problem
Right.
with that. It's when it becomes an expectation. Like I have a
Mhm.
problem with if there's one day that I can't do it, que tú me digas a mí, oye, tú no me serviste a mí hoy. I have a
Right.
problem with
Yeah.
that.
Right.
You know, because that was the attitude my father had. Like, oh, ahora yo me tengo que levantar y servir. Coño, tú no ves que I've done like half of the housework. Like, if I don't serve you one night, you're not gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
different when it becomes a demanding expectation. You know,
Right.
but
Right.
I love serving
I
you. I
also-
love, you know, catering to you, and it's like spoiling you in a way.
you know, I'm gonna get a little bit off the topic for a second. I feel too a part of like what is expected in a Latin culture back in the day,
Right.
like when you
Right.
are married and when you are with a husband, you stay with that person
Yes.
no matter
Well,
what.
I
well,
was gonna say
so-
that's
that.
what you.
When I started to, you know, proceed with my divorce, you know, I remember getting angry at my mom because although she knew it wasn't a good space for me to be in, she still kept saying, work it out, Jesse, work it out, Jesse, work it out. Tú te casaste, you know, and I was like, yo, you know, just because, you know, yes, you know, I did not get married to get divorced.
No one
Who
does.
right?
No one does.
No one does. But I'll be damn if I'm going to freaking be the most unhappy person in the world because I gotta follow those vows that
right.
meant absolutely nothing to
Right.
the opposite person.
So that's it.
Why would it mean nothing to me?
Yeah. That's
It's true.
exactly
So
it.
that
They believe in
feel
those
was-
vows and they
Yeah.
took them to the grave. And
No, when-
aguantaban los cuernos,
yo
aguantaban los
puedo.
golpes, aguantaban los bochornos, aguantaban el maltrato, aguantaban todo because that's what you say, right? That's what you
Yeah.
commit
And
to when you get
Thank
married.
God my mom and my dad were amazing together. But you know, not everybody's amazing.
Not
together.
everybody's got that
No.
So,
luxury.
but let me tell you, not everybody, because my grandmother, she broke that barrier. She was in an abusive relationship, and she was like, I don't care. My kids comes first. Okay, this man is not gonna kill me. So she ended up the relationship completely.
Well,
So
I'm glad she broke that barrier back in
he
those
broke
days.
that barrier.
Kudos to
Good
your
for her.
grandmother.
Good for her.
You know, and I'm very proud of her because it's not back then. I'm not talking about many moons ago. I'm talking about 60 years, 70 years ago. That was like very unknown.
Right?
So
That
frowned
was
upon.
a big taboo.
Right.
So she did it. She didn't care.
Right.
I come from a lot of strong women, and I say that that's why it's so hard for me as well to deal with certain things, because just like your grandmother, my grandmother did it. My grandmother ran after my grandfather con un colín to kill him. when she found out he was playing her dirty. And she never again took him back. My aunts from my father's side, most of them stood by themselves because the mans were all cheaters. My aunt from my mother's side, why she's 10 years younger than my mother, even though she's really 10 years older than my mother. She never took shit from nobody. They broke those barriers. They were like, oh no, we're not gonna be the pendejas that are cooking, cleaning, and he's out there doing whatever the hell he's doing. Like, again, one thing is if you have a good man that respects you and values you, absolutely, that's what it's supposed to be about. It's team, right? You're a team. If, like you said, si yo cocino, tú lavas los platos. Si yo lavo, tú guardas la ropa. Whatever the case may be. If we go do groceries, we both go do groceries. But when you're doing, and you're not appreciated, or you're not valued, or you're not given your place as that woman of the house, váyase pa la mierda.
And that goes not to be male bashing, but that goes for men too, though.
Oh,
'Cause there's some
absolutely. There's
men-
women too.
There's men that cook and clean and take care of their household and
Yes.
take care of their woman, and they work 2 jobs, and la
Yeah.
mujer tampoco lo aprecia.
No,
You know,
ni
they-
cocina, ni limpia, ni hace
Cocina
nada.
ni nada,
Él
nada.
está fuera busting his ass for the family.
Yes.
Yep.
And they don't reciprocate it. You know, we were
Right.
just raised that we have to put up with everything,
Right.
right? Hay que
Yeah.
él es un buen hombre, pero él es
Right.
he's a good man, pero es un buen hombre. After a while,
Pero.
En la calle no
Pero
hay
nada,
nada.
pero se fue. Pero
de
se
mi vida
acabó.
te volver. No. Yeah, you know, it's the constant cantaleta, right? Oh, pero
Yeah.
tiene buen trabajo, pero es un buen hombre. Oh, pero, you know,
No,
That's not everything.
Como dice, ese hombre que tú ves ahí.
¿Qué parece tan galante?
For real.
it's
Wow.
true. It's true.
Yeah.
And I, you know, I think we've come as Latinas a very long way. And I think that we don't get
Absolutely.
a lot of the recognition that we do. I saw a commercial where they said that a lot of Latinas have broken barriers in history.
Yes.
They don't teach you that in school. You know, it's not only you know, Sotomayor or J-Lo, or, you know, there's actual people that have broken barriers in decades and decades ago for us to be able to get where we are today.
Where we are today.
And they get very, very close to no recognition. It's not even taught in the history
Mhm.
books.
Yeah.
So, you know, dig deep, do your homework, appreciate our culture, continue learning about it, and pass it on to your children, you know, keep it alive. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Amen to that, sister.
Que viva la latina, que viva las latinas.
Que viva, que viva, que viva los latinos. Que viva,
Anita
que
Maraca.
viva, que viva los latinos.
And with that being said, we're gonna be right back with Lindo-Bonito and Barrato with Angie. We'll be right back.
Today I'm actually going to show you something really cool that I actually saw on TikTok. It's amazing how you could learn so many things through social media. So I always have a problem of don't know where to put certain stuff like comforters and sheets because I'm running out of space. Like, for example, these comforters right over here. I'm like, I don't have the space for it. No tengo espacio. So I decided to buy something awesome. So check it out.
Hi guys, so what do you think about the ottomans? Isn't that cool?
Loved it.
That
You
is
could
such a
actually-
great idea.
Listen, especially when you have all these comforters that you don't even know what to do with them. That's what I did. I just stuffed them.
Wow.
And it's like,
Love,
When nena,
love,
you gotta
love
come
it.
to my house y hacerle esa
I know, right?
Yo,
Coño, because yo no sé dónde meter los comforters. I don't got space
girl,
to put
I
them
bought
situated.
two.
That's another barrier we need to break. Colectando mierda que no se usa, coño.
yo no conecto mierda, mija. Aquí se va la mierda, todo para el carajo.
Ay, que si esta sábana se va a usar en 2 o 3 años. Ay, que si esta copa me la dio Titi Chubita. Ay, que si bórralo, coño.
Yeah. Mija, es que I don't have space. So, mija, yo vi esto y yo dije, espérate, en vez de llenarlo con jodiendo, lo voy a poner con los comforters.
That's
Que yo no sé
great.
qué
I
diablos
love
voy a
it.
ponerlo.
Actually, a really good idea.
Love,
That's a
love,
good
Actually,
love it.
seasonal-
sitting on one of
seasonal
them right
thing.
now, and they're super comfortable all this time that I'm talking to you guys.
My
That's great.
love
I think
it.
it's so
Love it.
cute.
It's watchable. So it's the best investment ever. Amazon people.
I love it.
Amazon.
I love it. I love it. I think it was a great idea.
It's great.
It's a good seasonal transitional thing, moving yourself
Yes.
from summer to winter. Very
And
good,
you-
very good, Angie.
Awesome.
Very good, very good.
And if you have a lot of people coming over, you don't have no anywhere to.
Siéntense.
Pacatún. Te
No,
sientas ahí.
si tienen ese cuito que está metido ahí.
That's it.
No sabe nada.
They'll be nice and comfortable.
Yeah,
will.
olvídate.
They will, they will.
Love it.
That's a good
Lindo-Bonito.
idea. Thank you very much. We'll be right
Yeah.
back with our final remarks.
Hey y'all, welcome back. Oh my God, what a great show. We talked about so much of our culture and how passionate we are and how much we worked on breaking those barriers. What do you guys think?
Awesome. Very, very nice. I think it was like really uplifting as well because it's like still like a taboo to talk about it, but I think it was very very uplifting to just to express ourselves.
Mhm.
It's empowering. I think it's empowering to continue breaking barriers. And not all barriers, are bad. I'm not saying that everything that we were taught growing up was, to be
Yeah.
shaking your finger at. But I think it's empowering for us to continue educating ourselves and, teaching our kids our culture, but at the same time, getting rid of those barriers that, make us feel a little unappreciated.
Opening paths, right? For
Yeah.
the younger generation, I feel is like what we, it's been happening for many years, but I feel like now there's such a bigger movement of breaking the barriers, of setting goals, of reaching goals, of achieving things that people never even dreamt of or thought of. And we're opening that path for the next generations to come, and I think it's so important. It's so beautiful. I think we had a great show tonight.
I
Yeah.
think so too. And Angie's cushions, breaking barriers with Stone.
Oh my God, I love it. Love those
For
damn
real.
cushions.
Breaking barriers. No compren más cojines, mételo en un forro de
Ahí,
eso.
mételo tú ahí. Fuá, 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 fuá.
I had a blast. And guys, thank you so much for watching our show. Tune in next week where we'll be interviewing upcoming R&B artist Angelis Mariah.
We are so excited to have her on the show as part of our Look at This Latina for Hispanic Heritage Month. Tune in Wednesday, 7 p.m. on YouTube.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and now you could tune in and listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music at Wine and Wisdom 5.
And guys, don't forget to take a minute to sip on some wine and share a little wisdom. See you next time.
Bye.